Hello everyone, welcome to Tuesday Tea Time. I'm here with Myrna and Cleo. Hi Myrna. Myrna's gonna get hay in my hair just to make sure I look good for tea time. And we have Breezy napping in the sun as well. So I am wanting to talk today for tea time a little bit about waiting versus causing. This is something I was thinking about today. Hello, Laurence. Glad you're joining us from Belgium. I was thinking a little bit about how freedom-based training is different from other kinds of training. Hello, Hannah. Welcome to Tea Time. Freedom-based training is a lot about assessing what the horse will be willing to do with very little pressure. It's very different from other kinds of training because in most horse training, we use the right amount of pressure to cause the results that we want, and we do it frequently enough that it becomes a habit. So much fun, all my favorite people showing up for tea time. Myrna says hi. Cleo says hi. Breezy's sleeping. Hi, Breezy. So when we have fewer tools, when we have less ways of putting pressure on a horse, we end up needing to wait more often. And what that means is to wait and see what happens. To wait and see what the horse wants to offer. And when we wait to see what the horse wants to offer, we get to know them in a really different way. And this is interesting to me because so much of horse training is about causing the horse to do the thing we want them to do. And I really think that causing things to be good in a horse's life is beautiful. It's a very, very good skill. And I love my horse training that is about causing good things. But I don't think we talk very much about waiting. Right now my horses are eating some hay that I just put out so that they will stay in the right spot for me to do tea time, and they're with me and they don't go away from where the internet signal is. It's lovely. I caused them to stand in this place by delivering hay that is not in a hay net, that is a little bit more free than the usual hay they get from a hay net. And, they feel really good. They feel good about me causing a change in behavior. And this is what most horse training is. Whether you cause it from pressure, or whether you cause it from the release of pressure, or you cause it from reward, most horse training is about causing something. Now, the place that I've heard this talked about is in positive reinforcement training, where people talk about scan and capture. And scan and capture is where you just notice the things that are happening naturally. And then when you see something happen naturally that you really like, you capture it by reinforcing it or rewarding it, usually with food. Now, I don't do a lot of food reward. I do certainly feed my horses. They are going to eat. So I put food out at times like this when I want them in a certain place. It's not that I don't use food as a causation in training. It's that's not my main goal. My main goal is more along the lines of scan and capture. What does a horse do naturally? What do they choose? That's why it's freedom-based training. If they have the freedom to choose, what things do they choose? And of the things they choose, I'm going to like some of them, and I'm not going to like other things. So the things that I'm going to like that my horses do go in the low stress categories, the yielding, the thinking, the playing. So when they do things in those low stress categories, if I want to capture it, if I want to reinforce it, if I want it to happen more often, I have to think, what happens next? So when a horse does things I like, I want to think, how do I then do things that they like? But that's different from causing them to do the action in the first place. And of course, it's a spectrum. You know, there is a whole range between waiting and causing, and there's a lot of gray area between the two theories. But what I find is that when you cause all of your training behaviors, you end up with a horse that is very reliant on you. They often become that sort of one-person horse, as it were. And the horses that have had a lot of causation training really need people to ask things in a certain way. They really need people to give the cue exactly right. They really need people to have the right timing with the food reward. When it's more about causation, horses become very much one-person horses or specific training style horses. When you are willing to wait more often and see what the horse would choose naturally, instead of trying to cause it, just spend time with them. And when you spend time with the horse and you watch them and you see what happens naturally, and then the things you really like, you reinforce. Now, you can reinforce it with food rewards. A lot of people do that. There's a lot of training methods about that. Or you can do what I do, which is you reinforce it with body positioning. So where I stand, how long I stand there, where I move to, all these things matter because we've practiced them a lot. So when I wait for a behavior I like, I just spend time with the horse, watching what's going to happen next. And I make a prediction. If something better is going to happen, something I like, I'll wait for that. I'll wait a really long time for that. When something is going to happen that I don't like, that's when I start going into causation. Okay, so for me, I don't have a lot of tools, so I'm not going to cause with a lot of pressure, but I am going to cause by choosing when I move and when I don't move. Okay, so as long, right now, I am sitting here, Cleo's eating hay, Myrna's eating hay. I believe this situation is going to get better and better and better. And so I am waiting for the best possible moment before I go somewhere else. So even after I say goodbye to you guys at tea time, I will sit here until I feel like I have built the strongest possible association between them and me and this enjoyment, and then I'll leave. So that last thing that happens is the thing that they remember. This waiting for the best feeling before you do something else is an art form. It happens to be my favorite art form. Causing something to happen is a different art form. And I find most horse training is based on causing things to happen. Causing it to happen and then reinforcing it. Causing it and then reinforcing it. And I will just tell you that the horses I've known who have more patient trainers, who don't cause everything, sometimes they just wait for it to happen naturally, those are the horses that can make friends with anyone. Those are the horses that have really good social skills, that can meet a new person, meet a new horse, meet a new dog, and they know how to adapt because they haven't always been dependent on someone else causing them to feel different or behave different. They've had practice making a choice and saying, well, what happens if I do this? And then seeing what happens, you know? And it's the making a choice and then seeing what happens that makes horses very versatile and flexible and willing to interact with lots of different characters and be friends with lots of different characters. So that's a little food for thought. I really like having some sort of a balance in my training. Some of it is causation and some of it is waiting for the horse to cause their own good feeling. Instead of me always being the one to reinforce everything, I will often wait for the horse to reinforce themselves. And the more I can let the horse reinforce themselves, Myrna's just so pretty there. The more I can let the horse reinforce themselves with their own good feeling, the more adaptable they become. The more they can be friends with anybody, they can travel the world, they can see things, and they're not as dependent on me being in a good frame of mind to cause everything to go right. So I'm going to leave you guys with those thoughts. Those are our Tuesday tea thoughts for this morning. And Cleo says hi, Myrna says hi. If you guys have any topics that you would like me to speak on in the future, make sure and let me know. I have an ongoing list of things that people have suggested, and each week I pull one out of the hat and chat a little bit about it. So thank you all for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day, and that's good morning, good evening, good afternoon from Myrna and Cleo and Elsa.